Welcome to Cert Empire. Today, we're breaking down Zero Trust Security, one of the most important cybersecurity concepts professionals need to understand in 2026.
Okay, let's kick things off with a high-stakes scenario. Imagine a user has the correct password and is already inside your company's network. But what if their account, or maybe the device they're using, has been secretly compromised? Should your organization automatically trust that access just because they managed to get past the front door?
Well, the short answer is absolutely not. And you know the data completely backs this up. In 2025, a massive 84% of organizations experienced identity-related breaches. The old castle and moat perimeter security, where basically everything inside the firewall was assumed to be safe, has fundamentally failed. Think about it. People are working from coffee shops, apps live entirely in the cloud, so that secure perimeter boundary, it just doesn't exist anymore.
Right, so give it to me in simple, jargon-free language. What exactly is Zero Trust? At its core, Zero Trust simply means eliminating implicit trust across all cloud and remote environments. It's a security framework that operates on one non-negotiable principle: never trust, always verify. Meaning you require strict identification verification for every single user and device requesting access, completely regardless of where they are physically located.
To really see how this works, let's look at Section 1. 3 core security principles, the foundation of Zero Trust.
All right, so those principles are 1. Never trust, always verify. 2. Least privilege access. And 3. Assume breach. Let's drill into that first one. Why exactly does never trust, always verify mean we have to treat a user sitting right in the corporate office exactly the same as a remote user at a local coffee shop?
Because identity, not network location, is the new security boundary. Look, in the past, if you authenticated at the VPN, you were basically trusted for the entire session. Zero Trust totally eliminates that. Every single access request to every single resource is independently verified. Your physical location doesn't buy you a free pass anymore.
Okay, that makes total sense. Let me jump in here, though, because I want a quick translation of this second principle before we move on. What is least privilege? Least privilege just means granting users and devices only the bare minimum permissions necessary to perform their specific task. You give someone just enough access for the job they are doing right in that moment, and then you instantly take it away when the task is complete. So absolutely no more broad, standing administrator access.
And that leads perfectly into our third principle, assume breach. You literally have to build your architecture expecting that cyber adversaries are already inside your systems.
But wait, if they're already inside, how do we actually stop them? Like, what does microsegmentation mean, and how does it physically limit an attacker's reach?
Great question. Microsegmentation is essentially dividing your network into smaller, protected zones. Think of it this way. If an attacker compromises a workstation in the HR department, microsegmentation contains them strictly in that zone. They can't use that little foothold to seamlessly jump over to the finance database or the engineering source code, because compromising one area no longer exposes everything else.
Now, to make these principles actionable, we move to Section 2, the 7 pillars of Zero Trust, building the architecture.
Okay, let's run through these pillars quickly. First up is identity.
Right. Identity goes way beyond just passwords. It uses multi-factor authentication and context, like what time of day you're actually logging in.
Got it. Second is devices. Devices literally must prove they are healthy, so an unpatched personal laptop gets heavily restricted access compared to a fully updated corporate machine.
Next, third and fourth, we have network and applications.
The network utilizes that microsegmentation we just talked about, and the applications themselves basically become their own access control checkpoints. Fifth is data, followed by infrastructure and visibility.
Right. Data has to be strictly classified so it can be properly protected. Infrastructure means securing every single server and cloud service. And finally, visibility. You absolutely need to analyze all the telemetry from these access attempts so you can actually spot anomalies in real time.
Okay, bringing us to Section 3, legacy versus modern security. The evolution of access. I totally get the theory, but I really have to ask, how is this modern approach actually any different from the traditional VPNs I've been using for years?
Honestly, the difference is massive. A traditional VPN just connects you to the entire corporate network. It grants broad network-level access after a single verification, which, as we know, allows for dangerous lateral movement once an attacker gets inside. Zero Trust Network Access, or ZTNA, actually doesn't connect you to a network at all. It provides application-specific access, strictly limiting you to a single approved application, and it does so with continuous verification.
Let's step away from the theory for a minute and hit Section 4, Zero Trust in Action, Real-World Implementation.
Can you give me a concrete, real-world example of this framework actually saving an organization? Yeah, absolutely, and this brilliantly illustrates the value. A major healthcare provider recently suffered a ransomware attack on an administrative workstation. But because they had implemented Zero Trust, specifically microsegmentation and strict device health checks, that ransomware was completely trapped. It was entirely blocked from reaching clinical systems and patient data. They managed to contain an administrative breach before it could become a massive medical disaster.
Wow, that's incredibly powerful. Okay, shifting gears to Section 5, Certifications and Next Steps, Building Your Zero Trust Skills.
I really need to know how these concepts are going to be tested on upcoming exams. For sure. If you're a Cert Empire student, here's exactly what you need to know. On the Security Plus exam, expect to be tested heavily on architecture design and microsegmentation implementation. Now, if you're taking CISA Plus, the focus shifts to security operations, specifically how Zero Trust telemetry feeds monitoring systems and behavioral analytics. And for the CISSP, the exam targets the executive level, things like governance, risk management, and how you actually justify a Zero Trust initiative to corporate leadership.
So, theory and exams aside, what are the 3 most practical, day-one actions an organization can take right now to actually start doing this? Well, you obviously can't do it overnight, but you can definitely start here. Number 1, implement multi-factor authentication for all users, no exceptions. Number 2, enforce least privilege to heavily limit account permissions. And number 3, begin segmenting your most critical systems from the rest of the network. Those are highly effective starting points for any team.
And really, the most crucial point to take away from this explainer is clearing up this common misconception. Zero Trust is not a single product you can just buy in a box, and it definitely does not mean that nobody is ever trusted. It is a security strategy in which trust must be continually verified, and access remains strictly limited.
If this guide helped you understand Zero Trust, subscribe to the Cert Empire YouTube channel for more practical cybersecurity and IT certification guides. Continue learning with the recommended video on your screen.